All right, Grasshoppers, 2 o'clock on Thursday. It's getting to be a regular occasion. Yes, it's just me in the box again today. Larry Melnick was very decent, contacted me, said he was traveling. He's a busy man. He's traveling. Ron Greshner had an event he had to attend, so I met. Hope everybody's doing this. So this will be the first show of this show that we've had since the Rangers lost out to Tampa. But a great season by the Rangers. I guess one of the big questions in everybody's mind right now is the whole benching or not even dressing of Kaapo Kakko in the final game. My take on first I thought, geez, that's something that must be out there. It's kind of strange, but when you listen to Gallant talk about it, it's more, I think, because of the injuries they had, and they had to put certain players in the lineup to make sure that if injured players couldn't continue, then you had players to take their spots in certain positions, particularly centermen. So Kaapo was the odd man out. And I don't think that they don't like him. I think he just last 2 or 3 games of the playoffs, you just didn't notice him as much. We talked about this before on other shows where they talked about the kid line doing so well, and it wasn't like he wasn't doing anything, but particularly Lafreniere and Hedl that were really making that line go. And again, that's not a knock on Kaapo Kakko. He's a young guy, still a lot of developing to do. Everybody, Deb, how are you? Mimsy, how are you guys doing? I guess I feel bad for me. I'm here all by myself again. Left high and dry. I want to ask you guys a question. Have you guys weigh in on this? We're just sitting around and having some discussions about maybe changing the name of the show potentially. So if you guys have any suggestions for it, we want to keep it more not specifically to hockey. So we talk about other things. So if you've got ideas from out there. Yes, Barry, all alone again. It's awful sad. Bill, someday, you and I are going to have a meeting of the minds. You've been affected by the Larry Melnick plague. We twisted your mind around. So again, so first to show this version that we've had since the Rangers got beat out. What a season, though, really. Let me see here, Danny Harrison. I don't think I'm going to stop trying. He keeps his head. Yeah. I don't think this would be a big deal. I mean, Jared Gallant was asked if he'd had a conversation with Kaapo Kakko about it. And Kakko was asked in an interview if he had a conversation with the coaching staff, but both people said no, they had not talked about it yet. It's a young player. I don't know. I'm assuming they'll talk about it at some point. They've got exit meetings and all that happening. But it's, he had a hard year. He was hurt. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but hey, Tom, how's a trade for, let me see here. Alone with Tom Laidlaw. That's very okay. That's the name of the show, Alone with Tom Laidlaw. We might just name it that after all. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Tom, is a trade for Brinkett for Kakko? How is the trade for Brinkett for? I don't know if Chicago would do that right now because it's just the uncertainty of a young player like Kakko. I think Brinkett, to me, is farther along in his development, but I don't really know. I'm not worried about Kakko at all. We've talked about this before where, again, you're looking at the finals and you look at Nathan McKinnon, and I've said this many times, I think like the first 3 or 4 years of his career, we're not that good at all. There's some question marks. Remember, we had Peter McNabb on that did the color commentating for the Avalanche, and I'd asked him about McKinnon because I liked him, and he kind of he was very hesitant about him. That they really wondered what he was good or not. So, yes. So at the end of the series, the Tampa Rangers series, you could really see the Rangers retired. And when Gallant was asked about it, very bluntly said yes, he thought fatigue was an issue. Yeah, they just were, so the series before for Tampa, they obviously wanted 4 games. Rangers had to go to 7. It was a stat they played like 20 games in 40 days. The Rangers had, and that's a lot. And again, those are playoff games, a lot of traveling back and forth. So, listen, the Rangers had the chances. I mean, they were up 2-0 in that series and 2-0 in that third game against Tampa and didn't win it. So, but that's, Tampa knows how to win. We've talked about this, Kevin Allen and I talked about it in the show where, playing against the Islanders where they were in their cups in the early 80s. That was the thing with them. You watch them sometimes and think, well, we can beat these guys, but they just always seem to find a way to win. And I think Tampa's gotten in that same mode. And, listen, they came back in the game last night, ultimately lost, but that series is far from over. In fact, I picked Tampa to win at 6. So, Where is this? Yes. Thoughts. First, this is great, I think, actually. Thoughts on first female coach Jessica Campbell with the Rangers in their development camp. She's going to be coaching. I think that's fantastic. Like the pro sports league now are starting to see that, listen, it isn't just an old boys club. So if you're qualified, whether you're race, gender, whatever it is, if you can coach, you should be able to coach. So, Tom, how do you feel about hold on a second. I want to get to this question. How do you feel about the biased commentary by ESPN the past 2 rounds? See, I don't think it's that biased. I know a lot of Ranger fans think that the networks are against the Rangers, but I just don't see it that way as much. But who knows? Let me see here. Do you follow? Let me see this question here. Barry Shelley, do you follow juniors? Windsor had a great series with Hamilton that went 7 games. Hamilton won, become the OHL championship. Listen to all the games. Very cool. And I talked to James Patrick this past week too. He got, as I probably got him the award, he was named as Coach of the Year of the Western Hockey League. He hasn't won Coach of the Year in the entire Major Junior League in Canada, but that's that isn't over yet. They had a good season. They lost in Edmonton in the Eastern Finals. Edmonton was an older team. James was happy with them. I think they lost in 5. I think 3 of the games were 1-goal games or something. So he was pretty happy. I mean, he's not happy that they lost, but he was happy with the performance of the team. So, yes, Susan, you are correct. They have to learn how to win games win series in less than 7. That is true. You're seeing that more and more. You can see that if you're gonna go like that first 2 rounds to go 7 games, and then so you're finishing, let's say, on a Tuesday night, then you're starting to play the next round again on a Thursday. So that's a lot. Tampa will win. Yes, I agree. Thank you, Linda. See, at least Linda shows up, Ron's sister. Ron doesn't show up at all, but that's another subject altogether. Ron, okay, if you want to know where Ron is at a golf event, I think it is, somewhere here locally. So he was very much a gentleman, contacted me, let me know that he could not make it. Larry was the same way. Larry was traveling. He did not give me details. He just did an email saying he was traveling. He's a busy guy. He can't get into too many details. Where Danny Anderson? Yes. So in the early 80s, Rangers had the Flyers. Yes, we could. I'll never forget because Sister and Herb Brooks came in. We made our team into a smaller, faster team. And in fact, Bob McCammon was, I think, coaching the Flyers, called us the Smurfs. And they tried all the goon stuff and everything, and we just we're just not going to participate. So they couldn't play. They kept taking penalties. We kept scoring on the power play and beat them. The Islanders, again, they always found a way to win. I'll never forget the series that Kenny Morris scored the game winner in overtime. And we had Clark Gillies on the show, and he said that he thought that if we had won that series, that we could have won the Stanley Cup that year. So in one way, it's very nice of him to say that. In other ways, it makes you more mad thinking, well, we didn't do it. Hey, hold on. Wow. What a great idea. Deb comes up here. I should have Linda Greshner on the show instead of Ron Greshner. That's what we should do. Yeah. Yes. Well, that's right. It was James Patrick's birthday the other day, too. We texted each other. We had a good chat a couple of days ago about the team and all the stuff going on up there and coaches around the NHL. So, can you up the appearance fee? Yeah, the appearance fee is homemade ketchup. Get them. Yeah, man, this started to take steam. It's building up some momentum here. Bring on Linda Greshner. Fettus. Yeah, you know what? Jake was actually great on the show too. That's the first good thing you've said in like the last 2 months there, Bill. But James is good. He's got a great sense of humor, right? He's a little bit more serious and refined. You got to call him James. You can't be calling him Jim or anything like that. But yes, just to be clear on James, he won't be coming back on the show. So for people who didn't see it, we had a show, I guess like 3 months ago. And no, I got to do that. Timmy Peel, the referee, I got to do that. Yes, thank you for the reminder, Bill. So James made a comment on the show that there's 2 players, and I won't rehash the names, playing for the Winnipeg Jets that we felt was known around the league. They were kind of bad players in the locker room. They weren't great team players. They were not great team players. James made the comment, and again, we all mean, Paul Maurice resigned from the team, and it just seemed like everybody in the hockey world knew that he came right and said, "Listen, I can't get to these guys anymore." He did not name the players, but we just felt like everybody in the hockey world knew who it was. I guess nobody in Winnipeg knew. And it got into the Twitter world, and it became a big deal. James had to speak to his general manager, the owner of his team, and the owner of the Jets, because they all know each other. And again, I'm not privy to what James said to the owners, but we had a conversation about it. It's like, I mean, we just thought it was all very innocent, just hockey talk. So James and his general manager sat down and said, it's probably better if he didn't do the show anymore. Obviously, they're going to be listening carefully to what he says. So I did not call Pierre LaRouche yet. I don't have his number. I keep thinking I got to get it from Gresh or Craig Patrick. I'll get it from. So Pierre would be great. One thing with Pierre, though, I don't know if he's lost his wife, unfortunately, years ago. I don't know if he's able to figure out how to get on the computer or not himself. So, but we'll get that done. We want to get Mike Rogers on. Larry Melnick was in touch with Kirk McLean, the former goaltender for the Vancouver Canucks when Rangers won the Cup, but also played with the Rangers as well. So we're going to get him on. He's a real personal guy, too. I got to know him a little bit. We lived close to each other when he played for the Rangers, so he's a good guy. This came up the other day. I wasn't sure on this. This crap stop. So this good young player of the Rangers that they had a dispute, he'd gone back over to Russia. He signed a 1-year contract. I'm told that he has a shot at making the team. It was not this contract signing was not made for them to trade him. That doesn't mean they won't trade him down the road, but it wasn't some agreement to say, okay, we'll sign you to a 1-year deal and trade you. And to me, if you really want to trade somebody, a young player like that, I'd want more. If I'm the other team, I'd want more than one. Well, maybe in some ways you're saying, okay, I just want 1 year so that I'm out of the contract, but you got to give up something to get him. And I'd rather have him signed for 2 or 3 years to say, okay, got him locked into a decent salary here. Let's see what he can do, and then renegotiate with him. So, hey, let me see this little Petey life-size picture coming up. Here he is, little Petey. You guys smell anything? You smell like pizza or something? Pizza cologne. Oh, to pizza. Ron is not here. He is at a golf event. Wonderful human being, Pete Gian Tiempo. With your name there, your last name, did you just throw a whole bunch of letters together and just see what came out? Like, that's not a real name. Like Gianna Tiempo. That's like somebody just threw a bunch of letters in there and said, let's put them in a blender. Whatever comes out, that's what we'll call them. It was a short blender. But, G11. I'm assuming that's 11 letters. Yeah, that's very funny. Let me see here. Mimsy, that bites what you get. I'm not surprised since we know everyone's feelings getting hurt. Yeah, it does. And I think, things get carried away. In Twitter, it becomes a bigger deal. To me, I know Kevin Sheldayoff a little bit, not all that well. He worked with Don Waddell, a good friend of mine down in Atlanta. And I think Kevin's a fine guy. I don't know. Maybe they thought they could take care of it before everybody found out what the problem was, because it could kind of hurt the trade value if they're trying to trade one or both of those players. So I mean, maybe that's where it's more mad. But again, it certainly wasn't a secret in the hockey world. We just felt like everybody in the hockey world knew what was going on. But there's a good idea, Danny. Danny's got some excellent ideas. Well, players in the town. That it was funny when we first started the show the first time, like 2 years ago, wherever it was now. I just we were all bored. I called up Gresh, Ron Duguay, and Dave Maloney. We did a show, and it was the number of viewers. I think we had like 2,500 people watching the show, and we're like, wow. So we figured we'd branch out. We had Boomer Esiason on. We had Kenny Albert on. And we really didn't have that many viewers. It was way down, like in 800 or 900. And then we went back and had Nick Fotiu on, and we had like 10,000 hits on that show. So it was people were watching, really more wanted to see Ranger players. But I like having all different shows. As you know, I do a lot of shows, mental health field, fitness. Speaking of mental health, here's Ira. That's not right. That's terrible. We should dedicate an entire show to a brilliant listener who is very interesting, engaging. I know it's kind of funny. Kind of funny. What's Is Laffy a top 6 guy? Then how is he strong? Yeah. See, to me, part of what's going on now, and this happens with a team who's maybe some people will argue is maybe a little bit ahead of where they thought they'd be in terms of development. For them to go to the finals this year was great, but I don't think, if you look back a year or 2 years ago, I don't think that was really the thought process. It's still fantastic. There's nothing wrong with it. But the problem now is you got to make sure you got room for those young kids to play. But now that you've gotten to that level, you also want to make sure that you got a team that can compete like it did this year. I think Lafreniere showed a lot in work ethic and knowing that there's more to just scoring goals in the National Hockey League, particularly the playoffs. I thought he was really good in the playoffs. Took a big step. So did Chytil. And then there's cap issues too. So that's a great question. I think Lafreniere can be. He should be a top 6 forward. Is he there yet? Yeah, I think you could make an argument that he, again, hoping that and I think he and Chytil should develop another notch. So should Kaapo Kakko and get that much even better. So let me see what we got here. There's Scott Schwartz thing from Christmas Maui, good friend of mine. Oh, maybe we should get some people out like that. But Bill, you tell me everybody's your good friend. Like, how many good friends do you have? Like, if I ask these people, are they really your best friend? Here's very, very stirring the pot. There's no way. I don't. I think he's got a face for radio. I think Barry, it's not for live TV. How about? Oh, here we go. What about an in-person show with the fans there, like question and answer? Not that the season's on. So have the fans on the show, or just answering questions with me? I think you're meaning you have them on the show. We did that. Remember, we did that with that one young lady. Can't remember, a while ago. Yeah, I think that'd be a fun idea. Get the fans back on. Get Barry Shelley on. Everybody except William Contradidiac. Get him on. I saw there was there's Dougie DeVito. Oh, where'd he go? I lost him. What was it like walking up those crazy steps in Chicago? Did you ever see anybody take a header? That's a great point. So yes, she means fans here. Okay, I got you. Going upstairs is fantastic because when you're going up, when the game's going, that building was rocking all the time. So you're walking up like in the steps of the Coliseum, like you're going up for slaughter, like you're a slave or something. So it was good. I never saw anybody fall down. Yeah, I think everybody was aware they don't want to be the one falling downstairs. You can maybe remember that. But that was a great experience going upstairs. It was really I don't even know if it was much of an advantage for Chicago, the home team, but it just got you fired up because it was a whole different atmosphere going up the stairs. The crowd was going nuts. The national anthem was wild in there. So that was cool. That was a lot of fun. All right. When Jack Sullivan gives a good point. When's the book coming out? So we had got the book to a certain point. My writer, a great guy, David Seegerman. And it wasn't long, didn't have enough in it. Didn't have enough substance to it. So we regrouped and we had a good call this morning for an hour and a half. Hopefully, I'm hoping within the next couple of months it gets done. I know I've said that for the last couple of years, but I think the book is much more what we want it to be, more informative, more of a lesson book. The idea is that every chapter you kind of learn a lesson in every chapter, so you don't have to read from front to back. So that helps Ira a lot because he really has a hard time reading. So, best food places on the road. Oh, wow. That's a great one. Oh, Jack Sullivan. Best food places. Well, best chicken wings were Sinatra's in Buffalo. Best food places. I'm trying to think of all the places we would go. That's a great question. I'll have to do that. Go back and look at that. Actually, here's Deb's say a book tour. We will be doing a book tour, having events. I live in Greenwich, Connecticut. Here, the Greenwich Library actually contacted me, and they want to do a program where I educate, not limited to, but people more like in their 50s and 60s about fitness and health, healthy diet, especially using technology and doing that. So I'm, I've got, the air fryer is considered technology. My Google Play or whatever you call that thing that I talk to, I tell the story all the time where, I just started learning, because I think part of it is people get, I don't have time to grab a book and read about it. So I just ask Google. I say, like, Google, can you freeze bananas with the skin on? And you'll come on and say, yes. I did get kind of personal with the Google early on in the pandemic, and I asked her if she loved me. and she was very emotional. Said how wonderful I was and everything. Recently, I asked her again, and she was very short. Said she did not have emotions. So I don't know if I bothered her or something, or happens. I'm twice divorced. It's like I'm getting a divorce from my Google. Let me see here. You should do a book tour. Do you know what Michel Petit is doing? I don't. I've never heard about Michel Petit at all lately. He'd be a good guy to get a show. Former Ranger. He was a hard-nosed player. I know Mel didn't like him too much because he got traded for him, but I liked him as a player. I didn't know him. I just knew him as a player, and I thought he was a hard-nosed player. He showed up and did it all. Oh, yes. Good idea. Get a chef on there, like Rachel Ray or somebody. Oh, good idea. Yes, I should do that. Man, I like the whole cooking thing. I want to really, Barry's brought this up a few times. Other people have too, about that I should be getting my own cookie show going. So, oh yeah. How about doing the show in front of a live audience at a small theater? Perhaps you can have, you know what? That's a fantastic idea. Danny, you are sharp. I'm going to get Danny on the show. So a good friend of mine, there's the Gotham Comedy Club in Manhattan, and the family that owns that, I know very well, big time Ranger fans. And they also own Levity Live over in the Palisades Mall. And we actually did a show there one time. And it came out really well, but that'd be a blast. Get a bunch of, have guys up, do the show live. That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. That's what we were kind of thinking if we get Mel in town, if he ever shows up, and do a show in front of people. That'd be a blast. Have the fans right there, tape it all and everything, and show it later on. That'd be good. I like that. And they've got all the technology for that and everything. Really, it'd be an easy setup to do. It's Levity Live. You can go down the city if we want to, but it's just for us here, it's easier to go over just across the Tappan Zee Bridge. It's called the Mario Cuomo Bridge now, but we refuse to use that name. So yes, that's what Memsy was talking about. Was doing in front of fans, the people there. Good thinking, you guys. Good thing. See, when I'm on by myself, I include intelligent people in there. It goes much better. Sometimes we get dragged down with well, I don't know if say Mel, but yes, we could stream the comedy show. I think we could stream it live. That's good. Because we just use the same technology we're using now. We use StreamYard is what we use to stream it. Mel is funny. It is interesting. I don't want to give away secrets, but Mel, I think you guys know Mel's a fantastic guy. He's a fantastic husband, father, great guy. Got a big, huge heart. He puts on this act though. He played with guys like Glenn Anderson. I saw Glenn Anderson at a golf tournament recently. We were talking about him, and first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth when they talk about Mel is he's so grouchy. The reality, he's really not that grouchy. He's very funny actually. So, let me see here. There's a great show. I'm not sure who hosted it. Oh, let's see. It's a good show. Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's funny when you get a bunch of guys on, and they know they're there. They don't have to be really serious and everything. We did a game show. I think Susan was there too. It was years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, at the Beacon. Was it at the? Remember Susan? Yeah, I think it was. We did the game show there. I know I'm almost positive you were there. And there was myself, Colton Orr, and who else? They had, I think, was it Manny? I can't remember who. There was young players there too, and they wanted me to come there to obviously stir the pot. And what I should have done was go to all the other guys there to start and say, listen, if I start getting on you, it's not like I'm picking on you. We want to make it entertaining for the fans. I didn't do that. I made a couple of comments. I made a comment to Colton Orr before I knew him really well, and he wasn't too happy. He kind of threatened me a little bit up on the stage. Yes, that's right, Susan. Yes, it was the Beacon Theater. It was a blast too. They had the games just like a game show. They had a game where you get the answer, and then you couldn't show the other players. Obviously, you had to say things without giving what the answer was. Obviously, and clues to what it was. I think we had I had Kim Kardashian one time, so I said, she's sits around, does nothing, and make lots of money, and everybody got it right away. They knew it was Kim Kardashian. So, but that'd be fun though. Do a show like that. That's a lot of fun. I like that idea. Who would we get on? So we'd have to get Mel in, obviously. Gresh. Dave Maloney's good too. I thought Dave was really funny. I think he really enjoyed being on the show. I don't know if kind of fit into who he is on TV. Good Freddie Shero story. You know what? I only had him for half a season. He got fired. Well, he loved me, I guess. He had me up on the front of the net in the power play, and shortly after that, he got fired. So, but he did pull myself, Chris Katsopoulos, and Eddie Hospetter in, and we're all. I think Eddie had played a little bit the year before, but basically I think we're all still technically rookies, and we're all 6'2", 210, 215 pounds, or whatever, and he pulled us in and he said, "Listen, you guys aren't going to play the first 5 minutes of every game. You're not going to play the last 5 minutes of every game. Now, I'm not telling you to fight, but you're all 6'2", 210 pounds, 250 pounds. What do you think you can do to help this team?" So, and that's where I told the story many times. When my first game we played, I shot the puck in my own net in Boston. The next one was in Toronto, and I'll never forget. Robert Picard butt into me, and Freddie saying those words to me. What do you think you can do to help the team? And I hadn't officially made the team yet. I was still there, but they hadn't told me I made the team. So I'm thinking to myself as I was getting up, I think, I better do something about this, and just decked him. I didn't give him a chance at all. I look back and I kind of feel bad about it, but then knowing where I was in my career and why I had to do what I did, I was going to let it slip away at that point. So, Espo, yeah, sure. We'll get Espo on. We'll get shut down. The police will come in. Oh man, that was classic. You know what? It's kind of funny, but obviously it feels fantastic to me. When I played, traded me, but still, I mean, before that he was great, and even traded me. He did what he thought was right for the team. But when he got on Willie Huber about trading, and we told him that we'd lost Willie, I kind of thought that maybe he didn't know Willie had passed away, and he continued to sound that was wrong. And again, I think it feels a good man. I don't think he's older now. I just don't think he realized how he was coming off. So that was unfortunate. And we didn't handle it well at the time either. We went back later on and apologized, and realized that we should have handled it differently. So, I bet it was a spleen injury. Who had a spleen injury? I had a spleen injury. That's what gives new meaning to profanity. Well, I forgot to mention too, I think I said this in the year before, but before the show, we got on and he says, "Oh, what are we doing? We're talking about." I said, "Phil, we're all having a conversation, having fun." And he says, "Can I swear?" And I said, "Well, Phil, maybe just a little bit, but we're trying to make this, PG." And so he got going with the F-bombs. I remember at one point I said to him, I said, "Phil, you're setting a new record for F-bombs." And a couple of listeners were then keeping count of how far he at least got 100. And I think we didn't keep count of all of them. But yeah, he was colorful. So they make fun of him here. Boomer and Gio, the radio show in the morning on WFAN, they love to play the clips from, it's awful, Phil's partner on the radio. When the Lightning score a goal or win a game, he gets pretty excited. And it's funny because they point out how Phil tries to interject while it's going on, and the other guy won't let Phil talk. So these guys get a real kick out of, and particularly Gio gets a real kick out of making fun of that. Yeah. Danny's stirring the pot here. What do you got going? Watch yourself, Tom, or I'm going to fire off a letter to Ted Sater and tell him that they're looking down. Oh, God. My blood pressure was pumping then. So I told a story the other day. I was out with Kevin. Was it Monday or Wednesday? Probably Wednesday. It had come up. I don't know why it came up, but things to start off. We've talked about Ted Sater before. Clark Gillies was on when he was with us, and he talked about his dislike for Ted Sater. So it wasn't too many people liked him, but in our practice facility, I don't know what prompted it or whatever. I obviously was not playing well, and Ted came in with the whole team there and read a letter. He claimed it was from a fan. I kind of got the feeling maybe he wrote it himself, but the fan was very critical of me, of how I was standing during the national anthem. I had my head down. I should have had my head up, which is actually correct. I make sure I do it now, but I wasn't at that point. And Ted felt it necessary to read that letter in front of the whole team. And I was like, it's just everything you could to just not just fire back at him. But so that was a lot of fun times. Yeah. Susan Brooks. What do you think of Torsten Philly? He is not a fan of Gritty. I think that makes it even better. I heard somebody say on the NHL Network on Sirius Radio that he wasn't a good fit for that young team like that. That they should have some good young coach. I don't buy that at all. Listen, I don't agree with everything that Torts does, especially his treatment of the media and how he conducts himself. But man, I saw the difference he made. Tom Rennie is a really good hockey man too, and a great person. The team he had here was kind of less competitive team. They weren't as committed physically and everything. And Torts came in and changed all that. The Ryan Callahans, the Girardis, all those guys, the way they played, and really got them to be a competitive team. He got the most out of those players that I've seen. He gets the most out of his players. He really does. Now that may run thin after a while, and guys don't want to handle that anymore, especially maybe more talented players. But I think Philly's kind of lost their culture down there, that competitive culture. People talked about being like a country club down there, which is not. I know it's a different game. You're not going to be fighting like you did in the past, but I think Torts going in there is a good move for them. Be interesting for Rangers as well. Now you're playing against that's a much more competitive team. He's going to make them a much more competitive team. Why don't teams check curves on a stick? I don't. Vasilevsky, you're talking about oversized equipment. I don't think his equipment is oversized. I'm pretty sure they checked that. Now, the goalie equipment, I think, is checked prior to at least, I think before every game, they have somebody from maybe I'm wrong on that, but I know they were checking goalie equipment when that whole thing started about making the goalie equipment smaller. And yeah, you don't see them calling a curved stick anymore. That's interesting. It used to be one of those things that when you did that, like the other team was like you kind of put a target back. It was viewed of, okay, it's legal. You can do that. If you want to try to check somebody's stick, it's fine. It's within the rules. But people kind of viewed it as kind of a cheap shot, So now you have a target back. Okay, you want to do that, then we'll pull some other trick out of our hat that we normally wouldn't do. So that's right. I haven't seen anybody check a stick in a long time. I don't know why that is. Good point. I don't know if it matters that much anymore. I remember going back, obviously, with the LA Kings, Montreal Canadiens. Martin McSorley got a stick checked. It was illegal. I don't know. Is it a delay of game? I think it might be a delay of game penalty if it's not illegal, too. That may be something that holds them back, that people don't check as much. Because typically you're doing it at the end of a game. You need to score a goal or something, so you're looking for an advantage. And if you're not correct, then I think you get a delay game penalty. Yeah, that's right. It's thank you, Kevin. Is Kay Whitmore runs a tight ship on goalie equipment? I think they check that. I don't think it's just a random thing where they say, "Oh, that looks big, so we need to check it." I think they just check them all. Here's one here. Mike Rogers. We're going to get him on the show. I'll tell you, one of the funniest scenes. I know I told the story before, but when he had those old Coho sticks that, like, near the bottom of the shaft, there's like a piece of tape that was like, it was clear, and then a red stripe, and then clear, and rest. You had like 5 red stripes. So I would go and I'd go in between the red stripes, and I would saw his stick like halfway through. So when he would go to take a slap shot, it would break. And he was in a bad mood one day, and I think I did it before I even realized he was in a bad mood. All he had was like 3 or 4 sticks left. I did not realize any of that, but I went and cut all the sticks. And he came to me and he says, "If you cut my stick today, I'm leaving. I'm going home." He's mad before it happened. And I knew I'd already gotten him. So he goes out the ice, and everybody's watching now too, and he's in a bad mood. So he's skating around, not paying attention. He leans down the stick and snaps, and he's just fuming some more. He goes and gets the next one. I don't even think he got to the last ones. He was just so mad, but he couldn't leave. I mean, I think Herb was coaching, so he just can't just leave practice, but he was steaming. So but he was a good guy too, though. Yeah. Very funny. We'll get him on. He's a good storyteller too. He's a good guy. Bruce Levine. Who's Bruce Levine? Oh, you're not saying, I won't put that up there. I think Ellen's responding. Bruce Levine sucks. I think she's saying that Bruce's comment here is accurate, that the coverage, ESPN. You know what? Honest to God, I guess maybe it's because I played. I don't pay attention to what those guys are saying. I really don't. Because I don't. I'm not going to listen to them anyways. As a former player, I feel like I don't need to listen to it. No disrespect to Ray Ferraro at all. I just have my own opinions about the game. I don't necessarily listen. Now, if something's going on, I don't know what's happening. Then I want to listen to see what's happened, why they made a call or whatever it was. So, Susan. So, in a show or on a show with Kevin Allen, I think it was the last playoffs. I can't remember what it was. It must have been last year when Victor Hedman got hurt. I made the comment that sometimes a team will play better when a star player is out of the lineup. because they know they need to play with. The other guys get more of a role. They need to pick it up. They need to play harder because he's not there. Now, I didn't mean for that's going to happen like for months on end. I thought for 1 or 2 games. Now, Susan and Kevin Allen want to try to, pound that away. I don't know why they're picking on me. It's not the way we do things around here, but that's. Here we go. Good question, Barry Beck. What was Barry like as a teammate? Barry Beck, fantastic. Funny guy. I mean, he had moods like he could be the guy that's kind of quiet, but when he was funny and on, he's hilarious and fantastic guy. Beast of a man, like a physically imposing guy, could do everything, fight, shoot, kill penalties, power play. Great guy. And then I got to play with him in Los Angeles later too. He retired. I got traded to Los Angeles. He was living in Vancouver, and I think it was more geographically. It was that made the decision to come down to LA. He came to try out and actually made the team and was playing, but then partway through the year, it wasn't working out for him, and he retired again. But great guy, funny, really. There was some funny stories about him. He was just he was a different dude though too. He would do some things like so at our practice rink in Rye Playland, our gym setup was like in the same big room as where the showers were and the mirrors and everything. So Barry would take all his clothes off, and I think he'd give the shorts on and lather up, put oil all over his body, and work out from the mirrors. I mean, it was so funny because he was a beast. So nobody going wrong, wouldn't say anything or do anything. It was funny, but he was good though. He could give it out and like jokes and take it and everything. He was a very funny guy. I liked him a lot, and like I said, a heck of a player. I just they'd gone to the finals. Rangers had gone to the finals in '79. Then the next year they traded 5 guys for him, and then didn't make it back to the finals again. My first year in League 80-81, we had a good team, went to the semifinals, and he was a huge part of that. But I think there's so much pressure on him because they'd gotten so close to winning the Cup in '79. Then they trade 5 players away for him, and some pretty popular guys too, like Bobby Sheehan was pretty popular. He was one of the guys. So, but there's a lot. I mean, Mimsy brings up a point here too. There's a lot. Like we go into a place like Philadelphia. That was good. They had a big brawl and everything. There was a lot on, like, there's a lot of pressure on Barry. Like he was expected to do it all, like, fight the tough guys, score the goals. That's why, like when Herbie came in and, team turned into what the Flyers called the Smurfs, we said, no, we're just not going to do it. If we don't fight them, then what are they going to do? Like some of those guys, that's all they could do is fight. So we just said, we're not fighting. We're just going to skate around you. And we had the guys that could do that. And the rest of us, we just went out and did our jobs. And, if the guys wanted to start a fight, we was like, not happening. We're not going to play your game. So, who do you think? Who do you think is a good candidate to replace Georgiev? Do you think go outside the organization or go with Kincaid? That's going to be an interesting. It's a good part of the problem is going to be right now. Is his contract up? I can't remember. He's not a free agent though. He may be a restricted free agent. I know Susan will probably know that. But if he's still under contract, or if he's a restricted free agent, so the Rangers would still ultimately own his rights. Like to trade him now, I don't know. Like you're not going to get as much for him because there's still that uncertainty. How good is he? He's shown during times that he's been very good. He had other times where he wasn't very good. I think he is a good goaltender. Part of the issue now too, though, if I'm another team, I'm looking at him saying, with the coaching they get here for goaltenders, I know this Shesterkin isn't in that category. Neither was Henrik Lundqvist. Those guys were just great goaltenders. But you wonder, like, look at Cam Talbot and guys. Oh, he's been traded last year. And Bruce mentions too that Georgiev asked to be traded. That was the rumor, and I have no reason to believe it. And I don't blame him. I think he really believes he's number one goaltender. I think he can be too. The question is going to be now for the Rangers is thinking, okay, you need to make sure you got a quality goaltender that can play, 30, 35 games for you. Because Shesterkin's great, but he has had his injuries. And I don't necessarily, I think back to years ago when Marty Brodeur would play, 85, 90% of the games. Didn't seem to bother him too much, but it's different now. It seems like they don't want to play a goaltender that much. They want him more rested for the playoffs. So, so he is arbitration. Thank you, Susan. I know you knew that. He's arbitration eligible. So they really, when the player is arbitration eligible like that, he's a restricted free agent. The team's really in control. Now, obviously, it goes to arbitration. You're letting a third party decide what he's going to make. But I don't imagine he's going to make all that much. And I don't think there's a danger there about an offer sheet coming in because, again, he just hasn't elevated his game to the point where he'd be worth that much to somebody else. Could he be that player down the road? But that's going to be the issues. The Rangers are going to want to play him enough, both to rest Shesterkin and to show people what his value is. Because if he's really that good, and this is Georgiev I'm talking about, if he's really that good, you can't have him just sitting around like you're wasting an asset, really, because now you could trade him for something else. But, yeah, you need to make sure you got a good quality goaltender. I mean, who did the Tampa got? It's awful. They get more of a veteran guy backing up Vasilevsky down there. Brian Elliott is goaltender they got. So that's a great question. It's a great luxury to have a goaltender that could be that good as your backup goaltender. And like I said, then you actually have him as your backup, and at some point you're going to have to deal him because he's going to know, and I think he does already. That's why he supposedly asked for a trade. He's going to know that he's an NHL goaltender. And number one NHL goaltender, which I believe he is too. So, let me see where Iris here is doing. Let's do a show on the Kings Rangers ball. I think you're running down to suit Bubba Katsiansprey. Yeah, I was there. You were running your nonprofit. You couldn't see at that point. Let me see here. All right. Tommy played in Denver. Could you imagine what the players would be like after a double or triple overtime? You know what? It really does. The high altitude there really does make a difference when you're playing. You get dehydrated more quickly. You just it's the recovery part too, right? If you have a hard shift, I'm sure the teams are saying to the players that go in there, listen, do not overstay your shifts, because if you get to the point where you're just sucking air, it takes a long time to get back and get ready to play. But it didn't seem to bother. It's something that's actually somebody mentioned on the radio yesterday. I'd kind of forgotten about it. It doesn't seem to bother the players. And the players, like I said, the game is so different now. The conditioning level, how they eat, the diets, all that stuff. The stuff that is available to the players to maintain their conditioning. So, and no, that doesn't mean that they're luckier than us. That wasn't the way it was back when we played. It's just we were, beer was a food group back then. So. That was how we conditioned ourselves. Let me see here. Tom, do you think that if the Rangers had gotten a break within these 40 days, they could have eliminated Tampa? I think it certainly would have helped them, yeah. Listen, Tampa is still a great organization, but the Rangers had them. They're up two games to none, 2-0 in the third game in the third period. It was one of the factors that helped Tampa win because they were rested, and you can see that in the play. When, and again, you could say the flip side for Tampa being rusty as opposed to rested at the start of the series, especially that first game was at 6-2, the Rangers won. I don't think that's really indicative of the difference in talent level or how good the teams are 6-2. I think that was more of a case. The Rangers took advantage of it too, so no discredit to them. But I just think that Tampa was sitting around. It's hard because when you play at practice, you can practice as hard as you want, but like the physical play, for example. So if I've got a teammate, I'm not going to hit him as hard as I can in practice. First of all, he's my teammate. And what if I hurt him? You don't want to do it. You want to play hard, you skate hard and everything. But the physical play, especially at a team like Tampa, they're big, they grind it out. So you can't replicate that. There's just no way of doing it. So you have to get into a game. Same with goaltending. I know it may sound weird, like a shot's a shot, but it's different during a game, right? The screens, the tips, how fast the play is moving. So yeah, I mean, but I'd say, well, you should win in quicker than 7 games. Yeah, you want to win 4 games, but I just thought both series against Pittsburgh and against Carolina, to me, what I loved was how the team pulled together at times where you're down 3-1 in games to Pittsburgh, and you got to go into Pittsburgh and win. I just think there's so many times where, and weren't they down every game in those 3 games where they came back? And to me, that's a huge thing. Yes, you would have loved to win the Stanley Cup. There's no question. That's always your goal every year. But if I'm looking at the Ranger organization, I'm thinking, man, that was learning under fire, right? Those 14 games, 19 games they played or I guess 20 games they played. That's right. That's, that the stuff that they got, the lessons they learned, and learning how hard they could play. Like Lindgren, to me, I've mentioned this so many times, him coming back and playing with that injury was huge for him to see, listen, okay, I can survive this, right? I mean, yes, it hurts. It's pain. I can play through it. And when having his teammates watch that and see what he went through to come back and help them and the difference he made in the team, whether it was a coincidence or not, but when he came back, then they started to win against Pittsburgh. I don't think it was a coincidence. I think he played a big role in it, both his presence, him being there, and how he played the game. So that's great. Why is it best of 7, not 5 or 3? So we did in some of my years when I played. The first round was I don't think it was ever 3. I think we had some 5-game series. But part of the lore of the Stanley Cup is the grind. Like guys talk about all the time. You talk to good friends of mine like Tonelli and those guys that won with the Islanders and talks about all the time. It's just how tired you were at the end of it. And but the idea is that everybody's got the same opportunity to play the same number of games. You play 4 7-game series. You play 4 4-game series, or anything in between. So, but that's part of the. Those 7-game series, like game 7s, we don't talk, if it's a 5-game series, you don't talk about game 5 being that, it's still that final elimination game, but I think it's just the history. Now TV revenue as well, right? So obviously the more TV games you got on, the better, more revenue for the league. I mean, I don't think they make a decision all because of that. There has been some talk about even having like a play-in game right at the end of the year. So maybe have more teams eligible and you have like a 1-game play-in. Yeah. I don't really think that. I think that may be fun. I'd like to see how that would work. But I don't think the league is really pushing that, but people have talked about that. So a little business here. Deb's on top of things. NHL took in $5 billion this year. So, there's a lot of talk about the damage that was going to be done to the league financially during the pandemic, people not being in the seats and everything. That seems to have subsided. I mean, there were some significant losses there. In fact, the league has filed an insurance claim that has been denied. They had insurance against those losses, and the insurance company denied those claims. And I think last I read was the league had gone ahead and was suing the insurance company because of that. But that's all. I mean, it's amazing because I remember when Gary Bettman first came in, I think the revenues at that point were like $750 million or something. And there was a lot of talk. Like I remember when I played, it's like, oh, geez, we're going to ruin the league, if we make too much money because there isn't that much revenue there. And now to see them at, $5 billion and 32 teams in the league is pretty amazing, really. I give those guys, I give the players a lot of credit. I give the Players Association, the league, everybody really worked hard. The players have put out a great product on the ice. Like playoff hockey now is something even like non-hockey fans or not traditional hockey fans, like really get into particularly playoff hockey now. So they've done a great job. The outdoor games, all that stuff, all good. Susan, great question here. Well, so I want to be careful when I say this. I'd like to think I'm tough enough and strong enough to do it. I guess you only know, but being in the military, being a Navy SEAL or something like that, that would be Army Ranger or something where I do a lot of stuff with Navy SEALs. So I've gotten to know a few of those guys. And I just admire them so much. Just that mentality that, it doesn't matter what they have to do. If they go out on a mission, they're prepared. They prepare for 3. So if they're going out on a 6-month mission, they train for 18 months. They train to failure. So they know where the failure point is. So, they're out there, they know, okay, if I continue to go at this point, then I'm going to fail eventually. So they do everything. They're so prepared. When they go out on a mission, there is no failure. It's, as they say, it's what is plan B. They say, well, there's no plan B. His only plan is finished plan A. Now, we may have to adapt on the way. Like that's what I like about them. They're like typically they're really like intelligent, thoughtful guys. It's not just all, break down doors and, shoot people. They have to think their way through things. Are they lethal killers? Yes. Are they trained to kill? Absolutely. But so that kind of stuff kind of excites me. Yeah. But like I say, it's nice to say that you would like to do it. Going through basic training, going through BUD/S training is talking. But again, they talk about how it's, it's a mental part of it. Physically you've got to survive too. But you talk to some of these guys who've gone through it. It's pretty amazing stuff. So that's what I would like to think that I'd like to do. Okay, great question here. Tom, if you're the Rangers, you go after Kane. He's physical, can score. Man. So just talking about the hockey player himself, that's exactly, the Rangers could really use him. That is a perfect kind of player. Big, physical guy, intimidating. I can see him making a real difference with the Rangers. That is absolutely top 6. You could argue top 3. I don't know, but There is the off ice question, and my concern is that he's an unrestricted free agent now. What is it going to take to sign him? If he was willing to take like a 3-year contract, I would really contemplate it. But if he's looking at like a 7-year contract, 6 or 7-year contract, the danger is with his history. It's different in Edmonton, where everybody's going to know you in Edmonton. You wouldn't be able to get away with anything. So you're in New York. There's a lot of places you can go where people wouldn't know who he was. And some of the stuff with the gambling and all the other stuff he'd gotten into. Now, maybe he's learned his lesson. Maybe he's grown up. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. He's been through stuff. I think he's a father now, at least one child, maybe 2. Maybe things have changed him. But man, he's a player. Like I underestimated when Edmonton signed him. I was kind of questioning, like, is he really that good that you want to take on a guy like that? But he sure showed how good. No, and then on the other side, he took a bad penalty and got suspended for the final game. Now, I don't know if that's it was a difference in winning and losing, but so great player though, that's for sure. Any good memories of your first play? Oh yeah. Oh, so back then they ranked the teams. There's only 21 teams in the league back then, and they ranked the teams 1 through 16 for the playoff seeding. So we had divisions, but it's just your points were. If you're the first best points, you're number 1. If you're 16th best points, you're number 16. So I think LA was number 3 in the league. We were number 14 then. Again, as a rookie, just being in the playoffs is fantastic. And then we go out to LA, and they had that great team with Marcel Dionne, the Triple Crown line, Dave Taylor, Charlie Simmer, and we just beat the crap. I remember Barry Beck, one punch, and Rick Chartrand, who was a great guy, became a Ranger later on. Was a great guy. And then we had the big brawl, and but they kept going. But we had a great group of young guys, big physical guys. I hear Gresh talk about the '79 team, how that was the same kind of team where it was the young guys pulling together, and we had that same thing going on. So we beating LA it's fun. Right now, all of a sudden the weather's getting nicer. You're in the playoffs. You beat a good team. And then we go play St. Louis, and they had a really good team too. And they had a tougher team. Brian Maxwell, Sutter, and that was a brawl. That series was a brawl. I think 6 games that did. And also, we ultimately won that. But that was, again, when I talk about the experience you gain from playing in those playoff games, it's the same for me. I just felt like by the time the playoffs was over with, I felt like I was so much better player. I belonged in the league so much more because it wasn't just regular season games we were playing in. We were playing in really, this is the playoffs. And obviously, to play the Islanders. We lost 4 straight to them, but to get to the semifinals, so one of 4 teams left playing. They're playing the defending Stanley Cup champions, again, you're disappointed that we lost. I think we were young. I think we had lots of confidence, but we just probably too much respect for the Islanders. They had just won their cup, the first cup, right? Yeah, the first cup, and then that was next year. They were playing for the second cup, and I don't think we played as well or as hard. It's not that the desire wasn't there or the willingness. I think we just respected them way too much. Looking back at it now, but, yeah. Oh yes, very Shelley. Hold on 1 second. We go back to what side we're talking about here. Michelle took $5 billion, but Gresh cost $8 billion. That's terrible. Oh, pretty funny, but let me see what we got here. The only problem was the teams got knocked out that had the potential to beat the Islanders. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that is part of winning the cup, though. I don't know. I hear you what you're saying, Danny. I just feel like when I think back about the Islanders, there's so many times when they're going on to win like the 3rd or 4th cup, like during the regular season, you're thinking they're not going to win it again. They're a good team, but they're not going to win it again. They're not that good. They're not as good as they were before. Somebody else is better, but they just always find a way to win. That's what I'm seeing with Tampa right now. It's just they're finding a way to win. It was like guys that they had a player that I played against in junior. Billy Carroll was a 4th line centerman, and he played with the Islanders. I think won cups with the Islanders, or with the Oilers as well. But I think he won 4. I think he was here the 4 years they won the cup here with the Islanders. But I say this as a total compliment to him. Like, he was a 4th line guy and he knew his role. He may not have been able to play on other teams. They may have wanted more from him. He was just that perfect fit for the Islanders, and he did his job. So it wasn't like they had all the best players. They just had the right pieces of the puzzle. And I hope I say that the right way because I got total respect for Billy Carroll. Again, playing against him, and he was a very good NHL player, but he fit his role perfectly with the Islanders. So, let me see here what Bruce has got going on here. Francis said that hockey is a slippery game. It's played on ice. Yes, that is true. It's true. Barry brings up a good point here. Paul Stewart, get Paul Stewart on the show too. He is pretty funny. He's got a really good sense of humor. I think his health is failing him a little bit right now, if I'm correct. I hope he's all right. So yeah, there's another player. So Billy Carroll was kind of, Gordon Lane may have been a little bit more player, but again, that was a good example. Billy, you're right. Gordon Lane, as far as fitting the role, Gordon Lane was the same way. There was Dennis Potvin and Pearson, one big defenseman who could really skeet, and Dave, those guys. Gordon Lane, his role was more like that. I think like fifth or sixth defenseman, but tough too. He could fight. He and Nicky had a good scrap at Madison Square Garden one time, so he was a tough dude. I actually got into a business with him after. What do they call it? I can't remember what it's called. And a pretty sharp guy too. It ultimately failed, but more some mistakes you made. But the concept he had was he was buying up restaurants. He had players going in, teaming together and buying up restaurants. There was a chain of restaurants they were buying. And they're trying to build up other donut shops and everything too. And they got things going. They just made some mistakes financially, and it kind of fell apart. But good guy, tough player, really good. Yes, Glenn Healy. We got Glenn Healy on the show. The problem is, though, we only have the show for an hour. Glenn, I had a group of guys up in Canada that wanted to meet Glenn, some business-related deal. And so we set up a conference call. And Glenn's a great guy. He's very funny, too. You got to let him go for the first, 15, 20 minutes telling the stories. And then you can get down to business. But he does like to talk. We played together out in L.A. Funny guy. Didn't he have, him and Pat Flatley had a show together that was very funny too, Flats and Heels or something. Here's a very good question here. These scouting, hold on. Whoa, I didn't see this. You were the Rangers released your scouting stuff last night. Wow, I did not know that. Wow. I had heard from people that Chris Drury was really cleaning house. He was getting his whole crew in there. I did not hear that though. That's good job, Chris. I have to look that up. Wow, it's somewhat of a shocker. But Chris Drury. I tell you the thing about Chris Drury, he's putting his stamp on the team. There's a lot of the good young players that are here from the previous regime, but there's no question Chris Drury is the boss now, and he's going to have the team the way he wants it. Both the way the coach he hired. The players he traded for at the deadline. So, going out and getting Reeves and everything. So, did you ever dislike a teammate so much that you wouldn't pass the puck? No. There's something, listen, you don't always like your teammates, but I don't think I've ever even seen a player act like that, not pass somebody the puck because he didn't like them. That would be so obvious to the rest of the teammates that would happen. The guy that wouldn't pass the puck would be more ridiculed. Even if everybody else didn't like that one player and this one guy didn't want to pass that player, they'd be more mad at the guy that wouldn't pass to him because you gotta remember these guys dream all their lives of getting to the National Hockey League, trying to win Stanley Cups, and have somebody potentially hurt the chances of winning a game because you wouldn't pass the puck. Yeah. You think so? I'm assuming this guy thinks JD, John Davis, would be better than Chris Drury. Listen, JD is fine. First of all, JD was president. Jeff Gorton was GM. And I guess that's what I should apologize. That's the role that Chris Drury has now too. He has both of those titles. Listen, JD's a friend of mine. I have total confidence in him. I think he's fantastic at what he does. But to say he would have been better than Chris Drury, would they have maybe different decisions? But I don't know if I'd call that better or worse. I think it maybe just different decisions. Maybe have Larry Melnick be GM of the league. Have Larry Melnick being a general manager. But honestly, he acts grouchy, but he's a big softy too. He wouldn't be able to trade guys because he'd be too soft. All right. So one thing we need to get on too. So I know if anybody watches my show that I do with Kevin Allen, there's the mystery of the disappearing and reappearing rabbits. I'd like to have people do some homework. That's funny. Do I get paid more? No, hold on. There you get Stick Boy. You get paid more for doing a solo show. You know what? It's too. Yeah, I get all the tequila. I don't have to share it with anybody. I agree with you, Deb. So again, just so everybody's sure, Kevin was at his son's home in Chicago. They have rabbits in the back, one rabbit in a backyard pen. They woke up one morning, the multicolored rabbit was missing, but there was a white rabbit in its place, a different colored rabbit. They couldn't figure out what happened. The next night, I believe it was the next night, the white rabbit was gone and the original rabbit was back in its place. So we're trying to get to the bottom of it. I'm feeling like there's two options. There's some kind of a religious cult. There was praying to the rabbit or something. I don't know what they were doing. Or else it was aliens that abducted and did tests on the rabbit. And they thought that we as the human species, given all the stuff that we're doing to each other, weren't smart enough to understand that, the different colored rabbit. So they just put a white rabbit in instead, thinking we wouldn't notice. Of course, we did notice, or Kevin noticed. And otherwise, but we're trying to find out why would somebody take one rabbit and replace it with a different rabbit, right? I mean, they can be very thoughtful people for some reason, and they're trying to do what's right, making sure that if there's kids there, they still have a rabbit, not the right rabbit, but then come back and replace it next time. So I'm going with the aliens. I know Gresh doesn't believe in UFOs or anything like that. So if you guys have got rabbits and you see an alien coming or a UFO, make sure you get your rabbits inside because there's some disappearing rabbits. Susan. Maybe Kevin is colorblind. That's just, see, sometimes people don't know Susan. Like she, as far as like aficionados of the game, I should say of multiple sports. I see her baseball games and everything. Like Susan's really near the top there. Like sometimes it gets to her head a little bit. I think she gets a little bit, a little bit conceited sometimes. She starts picking on people. I mean, that's how I see it. She's a wonderful person. Just maybe we need to work on her a little bit. Get her on the show, like on the couch. Get that session back in on the couch. I actually saw too. I started doing the show on Tuesdays at 1:00 with this nice woman who she's a registered hypnotist. So people that have mental health issues. Now, on a serious note too, and that's serious note, she really does that. But we're going to start doing a show on Monday mornings too, early Monday mornings, probably 9:00, all related to mental health. Unfortunately, I'm sure like a lot of people know, there's been some suicides amongst young people, more than just young people, but we're more focused on young people. And one of the questions we had, that people know there's a lot of organizations out there to help somebody that's thinking of hurting themselves. We just want to make sure it's very public that if somebody is thinking of hurting themselves, if we can get the information to them about how to seek help, then we want to get that out there. The idea being, okay, yes, these organizations are there, but if somebody is really to that point, have they reached out? Do they know how to get the help that is out there for them? So that's what we want to try to accomplish. So any help you guys, any ideas you guys can have on that? It's I think it's it's a hot topic. Mental health is a big thing now, and a lot of people I talked to, Corey Hirsch, who we've had on the show before, he suffered his own issues and really sunk himself into the mental health world. And the quote to me was that he said, there's a tsunami of mental health issues hitting us. All the stuff that's gone on, social media, pandemic, everything. So really want to try to get on top of that and help as much as we can. So, all right. Good show. Oh, man. Do you think I should maybe just not tell those guys that there's a show, we're doing a show, and just do it myself from now on? Just a thought. I don't know. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We will see everybody next Thursday. Obviously, we've got our other shows coming up. And just before we go to we're going to cover that as part of the whole show, like it's mental health and everything, PTSD, abuse issues. As you know, I had represented Sheldon Kennedy many years ago, who trying to reach out to him now. He had been sexually abused by his junior coach, really is doing fantastic things now to help other people. So we're going to cover a lot of different topics, kind of encompassing that whole mental health world. So, all right, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see everybody next Thursday.